Okay, many people are asking me about cutting your commission and how to deal with objections. I think right now, the number one objection I'm hearing is I'm up against multiple offers. They're wanting me to rebate commissions. They're wanting me to cut my commission. I'm hearing that a lot out there right now. So I want to talk tonight for the next 15 to 30 minutes about some strategies on how to handle these types of situations and kind of spark some conversation amongst the group. If you want to share your opinion about how to handle this, we do have a Facebook group that you can participate in. I'd love to have some engagement after the call about this, maybe some strategies that you've used or that you've tried that might have worked. So keep some good notes. We'll go through a few tonight. And again, there's many different ways to tackle this animal in the room. So let's go ahead and jump right into the slides. Second slide here is, what is an objection? So many people ask me, you know, some of the types of things I'm hearing, they're not real objections. You know, they're just trying to get you off the phone. They're not really true objections. A true objection is really seen as an opportunity to ask another question. So what you want to do is you want to be really prepared when you have an objection. Being prepared may mean that you actually know the objection ahead of time. I have one of the things that I've done in my past coaching is I've actually asked the brokers I work with, if you're hearing a lot of objections or you're feeling the no's more so than the yeses when you're speaking with somebody about buying or selling a home, you might want to do is write down the objection or the issue that you're having and then practice how you resolve that objection with somebody you know. So number one tip would be to be prepared. The second thing you should do is really have the right body language or tone. That sometimes can answer the objection, can help you answer the objection or have them answer their own objection by having the right tone or the body language. So one of the brokers in our office, she said that she attended the session with the FBI agent on negotiation. And in her one of her negotiations, she actually just waited. She had the right demeanor and the right tone, and she just sat there and looked at the other party until they basically felt uncomfortable and answered their own objection. So that's an example of having the right body language and the right tone in order to deal with the objection. It has to be a decision sometimes that they come up with, where you can't really force or ram something through when you're dealing with an objection. You have to make it part of the business and realize that every business professional handles objections, and either you handle them well and you do really well with it, or you struggle. And this area is probably where you need to spend some time separately from this conference call to practice handling objections. So using I would probably write, like on my card here, maybe I have like 3 or 4 objections that I'm dealing with. I'll write the objection that I'm dealing with, put it on my screen, and that way I'll practice rehearsing how to answer that objection, and just have that, you know, objection handler also on a Post-it note. And then it's easy, and then once you get comfortable, you're not going to be shocked by the objection that, hey, I'm using another real estate broker, or I'm deciding to go a different direction. You'll already know how to keep your tone and what kind of thing you need to say when somebody throws that objection at you. So those are my 3 tips of just being prepared. It's an opportunity to ask another question, so you need to have some good questions, you know, answers for those questions. I don't see the objection as an objection now that I've dealt with so much. I just see it as somebody has a question about something, and I handle that accordingly. 70% of the consumers that we have interviewed, and I did this study just about 3 or 4 months ago at the conclusion of last year. And this was done in Washington, Oregon, and in California. And what we found is that 70% of consumers will pay more if they perceive greater value. 30% will go for the deep discount. So that's just, again, an obvious. We have some discounters in our area where they are going to go in and discount their service. And I think this is an important statistic that you can have in your mind when you're going into negotiations or you're discussing commission reductions or adjustments in the middle of the transaction, that 70% of consumers are willing to pay more if they perceive greater value out of the services that you're rendering. So I have not seen as many reduced commissions in the last 12 months out of our firm. I've actually seen some commissions that have increased because the agent is either doing more service, they're doing some construction, they're ending up doing some higher end photography, they're doing more marketing that will warrant a higher commission rate. So don't think that everybody, just because somebody else in the industry, and you guys know who I'm talking about, will offer a discount or rebate services or do those types of discounts. The majority, 70%, will actually pay more if they perceive greater value. So you need to focus on that and not focus so much on the discounts. Although, you know, discounts will work and they will establish your brand or help you, you know, get started in this business, it isn't something that I would build a business plan off of. Most consumers will pay for the service. So number one tip would be stop volunteering to cut your commission. And what I mean by that is if you go out the door with your listing agreement and you've already adjusted your commission to a lower rate, you're volunteering to cut your commission. You're already taking number one and just basically saying, I'm going to do the business the way I want to do the business. I think that if you can go out with the perceived value, for example, if you go out the door when you're doing everything that I've taught you guys, you know, as far as listing them and marketing your properties, there's no reason in King County that you don't go out the door with a 6% listing agreement filled out. And then you have the ability to negotiate or to adjust, but stop volunteering to cut your commission right before you even head out the door. Some of you are doing that, and you can make yourself a lot more money by actually enhancing your service and the ability to discuss and negotiate with your clients rather than just putting that on your forms. So number one tip, I'd say, when I send out a listing box and I'm getting that out to my potential seller, my listing box has a 6% commission rate, even in Pierce County. Now, certainly when you have a conversation with the seller, for example, in Tacoma, and there, you know, I would be happy if it makes sense to do the commission for less than 6%, but that's something that I can determine when I go and see the project and I can see what I'm dealing with. I don't want to volunteer to cut my commission before I even get started. So number one, don't volunteer to cut your commission, even in writing. Write your rate on pre-list package in all forms. So make sure that you have that already set, and that will save you a lot of time in scrambling. If you go out the door with a listing contract and you have it blank, you're allowing the seller to control that negotiation. And then you can make the decision to adjust in the negotiation, just like I did it with my listing. So we're going to jump right into the scripts so that will help you. And this is a script number one, where it's talking about, you know, again, they want to adjust their commission. You want to kind of pad it, where when you're dealing with an objection, you want to understand or kind of give yourself some time to regroup. So this script says, you know, if somebody said, Rochelle, will you reduce your commission? You could say, I understand where you're coming from, or I understand. I'm not willing to adjust my commission at this time. However, if it makes sense during the negotiations, I'd be happy to chip in. I'm a strong agent, or I'm a strong negotiator. Let me fight for you to get what you want and earn what you deserve. I think that I did a typo there. And we will work together to make this happen. So again, I've used this many times. In fact, this year alone, I've used this in about 12 different negotiations, where seller called me. This happened just last week. He's interviewing 4 other real estate brokers. This is a neighbor of my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Of course, they get my magazine. I stay in touch with them about the real estate matters. And their neighbor wanted to interview me for the job. So they reached out. I talked to them on the phone, and you know, he asked me, what do I charge? And I told him I charge 6% when I list the properties. And you could tell on the phone he didn't give me an objection, but you could definitely tell in the tone that he was not happy with that answer. And so I proceeded to ask more questions, but kind of kept that in the back of my mind. And towards the end of the listing preparatory questionnaire that I filled out on the phone with him, and again, if you want my listing preparation questions, I'd be happy to email those to you. Just email me tonight and I'll be happy to send you my questions. It's a questionnaire that I asked him a few questions, and then towards the end of the conversation, I said, do you have any other questions, that I haven't covered in my introduction? He said, well, before you come out, my wife has a question for you. Although she's not going to be the one making the decision, she does have a question. And you could tell by her question that she was listening. And so her question was, I want you to have a shot at this, Rochelle. Would you consider reducing your commission? The others, when she meant to the others, some of the other people they were interviewing were going to be charging less. And so I used script number 1 in this particular situation. I said, I understand where you're coming from, Lorna. I'm not willing to adjust my commission at this time because I have not even seen your property. That's how I said it. However, if it makes sense during the negotiations, I'd be happy to adjust my commission. I'm a strong agent and I like to fight to get what you guys want to earn and what you deserve, and we will work together to make this happen. And that's how I explained it on the phone. So again, I practiced the script. This was not something that I just, I had practiced this because I knew that this is something you guys are experiencing a lot. And especially that I knew I was up against 3 other agents or 4 other agents when I found out. And I knew this would come up. So it worked beautifully. I did get the signed listing contract. I was able to take one of the agents at Best Choice Realty, so he was able to observe the listing presentation. So I'd love it if Val, if he's on the call tonight, if he wouldn't mind, when I post this on our BCR broker, if he could maybe shed some light on how the negotiation went and in the presentation of the listing, so you guys can get a sense of what it takes to win when you're up against multiple agents. And again, I had an edge obviously because I've been in business a long time, but just because I've been in the business a long time, there's still 4 other real estate brokers that interviewed for the job, and they had to deal with probably this type of rebate or adjustment commission as well. So that's one way. You can also say, when we get offers at the table, I'm reasonable. If we cannot make those offers work, then we have a buyer, another agent, you and me. We will all put our heads together and figure out how we can adjust the commission to make the sale work. So this is kind of another way to handle it, that second section. Let's go to the next one. This is another strategy that has worked. That has worked for other, again, some of these are stylistically would work for you. Maybe it doesn't, maybe you need to adjust it a little bit more, but hopefully this will give you some ideas on how other brokers handle the commission rebate question. If I were you, I would probably ask the same question. Again, very simple to kind of, again, build trust and rapport with that other person. And when you think about it, I'm not sure you will realize that commission is a marketing tool. What I mean by this is when you offer a reasonable rate of commission, it incentivizes me to work overtime, to spend the money to properly market and expose the home, which causes buyers to put your property at the top of their list. And when you think about it, I'm sure you will realize that you are really not paying anything for me today. Commission is really a marketing carrot. When the offers come to the table, you're going to make a decision whether or not to accept the offer or not. In fact, you don't even have to accept a full price offer. If we get several offers and you just don't feel right about the offer, I only get paid when you properly incentivize me to work for you. So what I mean by that, it's a marketing carrot, or it's a way to expose your home to the most amount of people. So this is a different kind of strategy, and it works with different personality types. Some of the personality types, obviously, somebody that's more of a dollars and cents, this may not work for, but somebody that's really motivated by a high I. What I mean by that, influencer, likes to talk a lot. Hey, Rochelle, would you be willing to reduce your commission? And you're kind of just going through the motions because they're asked. This would work really well. If I were you, I'd probably ask the same question, kind of build some trust and rapport. When you think about it, I'm sure you will realize that commission is really a marketing tool. And what I mean by this is you offer a reasonable rate of commission, it incentivizes me to work harder for you. So there's an agent in my office, and he did this beautifully. He consistently memorized at least the first 2 or 3 lines, and it was beautiful the way he turned it around, and then just turned around and say, are we ready to get started? And then just had him sign the listing contract. So you do have to not like let them dwell on it too much when you're in a presentation format. And again, you may want to cut this down a little bit, but this is in essence the gist of what he used when he would present. The script number 3, and again, I have, I think, 4 or 5 to go over tonight, so I think I'm okay with time so far. Another way to handle it, I know you will be able to find discount cut rate agents will do more for less. So this is a way. What you don't want to do with script number 3 is use a name of a competitor in your dealing with your objection. It's very, very low. In fact, I have to catch myself sometimes because I want to give a name, but you guys know who I'm talking about when you say discount cut rate agents who will do it for less. The consumer knows who you're talking about. You don't need to give them a name of that company or that other competitor. When I did the listing presentation, I didn't know who I was up against when it comes to the other companies or the firms they were interviewing, although I could have asked. But this is a way to get at that question. So they say, Rochelle, would you be willing to do some of the other people that we're interviewing are doing it for less? They're actually going to be listing my home. And I say, you know what? I know you'll probably find a discount agent who will do this listing for less. What they are not going to do, though, is they are not going to tell you what marketing and resources they're going to be not doing for you. If they're going to work on such a thin margin, they're going to cut out something. That's just the way businesses run. One of the biggest reasons most homes do not sell is due to ineffective marketing or the lack of an experienced agent putting a marketing campaign together. So it would appear that you might save a little bit of money at the front end, yet ultimately it may cost you more to sell because you'll have to sell for much lower than what I potentially could get for you. So this kind of really plays at the discounter concept. When you know that you're up against a discounter and you don't want to use that discounter's name, you can just deal with the objection. Again, you can work the words to make it make sense for you, but this works also very well when I'm discussing dealing with, will you do it for less when I'm up against. And you can be specific. You can say, some of them I know online say they'll do it for 1.5%. And what that doesn't mean is that, 1.5% is what the listing fee, what that discount cut rate brokerage firm will do for the listing fee. And they may do some high-end photography, but they're not going to take the kind of experienced agent and effective marketing tools that I know works at Best Choice Realty. Again, another way to kind of work with script 3 and kind of make it your own. Go to the next one. Let's see, I had this script 3, and this is actually script 4. When you think about it, builders often offer large commission and bonuses to agents because they know those incentives will drive quality buyer agents to bring them more buyers. I get it. Buyers can look up homes on websites and they can request the agent take them to those they select. However, never underestimate the power that an agent has to sway them to another property. We've tested it at Best Choice Realty. We've had a commission rate, say, of 2%, at 2.5%, at 3%, and 3.5%. And what we've found is that more traffic will go. Again, the price being constant. If we keep the commission rates at different rates, we will automatically get more showings at the higher rate of commission. So this would work well in that type of situation when you're going in that direction with the seller. So when you think about it, builders or other people in my firm will often offer larger commission and bonuses to agents because they know those incentives will drive quality buyers. They may pay more and they will bring ultimately more buyers to your home when you offer to pay them a larger commission rate. So that may be how you negotiate when you're in Pierce County, for example, when you're working with a seller who's saying, well, another company will do it for 2.5, and will you do it for 2.5? And when you think about it, builders, especially when you have a builder or community that's being built nearby, they're going to offer typically more commission or bonuses to those agents, and those incentives will drive higher quality buyers and more buyers to those sites, or more buyers to that house. So I get it. Buyers can look up and find out, get information and ask their agents to reduce, and you'll still probably get showings. But let's attract the highest caliber buyer and the best buyers to your property, so we can ensure we get maximize the exposure. So again, my scripting is just really quickly typed. You guys will want to make it your own. So this is another script that you could try. That's a great question. I work for 3% on the listing side. So just again, matter of fact, I work for 3% on the listing side. And then you determine what you are willing to pay the buyer's agent. Throughout my presentation, I'm sure you'll be impressed with what I will offer for the percentage I receive. Again, this is for a very confident agent. You've got to rehearse this so it becomes second nature. So you have to exude a lot of confidence with the script for it to work. If you don't, if you kind of deviate from the script, it won't work. So that's a great question that you said. Will I take less on my commission? I work for 3% on the listing side. And you can pause just to create more emphasis. And then what we do is you will determine what you are willing to pay the buyer's agent. Throughout my presentation, I'm sure you'll be impressed with what I will offer for the percentage I received. Let's go through this breakdown and show you exactly what happens with the distribution of the funds. The buyer's agent gets their share, then I pay expenses to market the property. Everything I spend comes out of my portion, and I take on the expenses up front, regardless if the property sells or not. Some of the agents have taken this approach and done it really well, where they'll actually just kind of map it out on a net sheet, or they'll use just a blank piece of paper, flip it over, and have a working document with their seller to kind of work the math out. And then the seller understands and signs the listing agreement. So again, this is something that works really well, but you have to exude a lot of confidence, and you have to be you have to choose your words very carefully what you do here. The buyer's agent gets their share, then I pay all the expenses to market the property. Everything I do, everything I spend comes out of my portion, and I take out the expenses up front, regardless if the property sells or not. Next, I have to pay my broker and pay taxes. You're going to have less of that problem. They don't know how much the broker, they could think that you have to pay your broker 50%. Some of you came from firms that were like that. So you can say that. Next, I have to pay my broker, and I have to pay taxes, my staff to service throughout the pending transaction, and to navigate all the tricky parts of the transaction and deliver a check to you at the end. It's really quite a process. And as you can see, I don't earn as much as it appears on the surface. So this could be something that's really challenging on how do you earn your commission. If you want to get really good at explaining that to somebody, this is a script that you can master. The next script that we'll talk about, I think I got two more. Oh, I've got a few. Let's see what I've got time for. I got 4 minutes left, so I've got a few months. I can probably go through another script here. There are so many desperate agents out there. When you think about it, if that worked, going with one of the discount companies, everyone would probably do it. So this is a script number 6, that I would use for possibly a for sale by owner. Somebody that maybe is trying, and they're thinking, I'll just do it for a lot less, and would you take less because I've been trying to do it on my own. There are a lot of desperate agents out there, or it expired. You could also use the script for that. There are a lot of desperate agents out there. And when you think about it, if that worked, where you only paid 1% to the buyer's agent, or you only paid 1% to the listing firm, going with one of those discount companies, everybody would do it. But of course, you want to save more money. And if you can get the same product at the same price, but as you look at the market right now, the discount brokerages only represent a tiny fraction of the listings taken, and many of those listings expire. When you work with Best Choice Realty, we are in the top 10 in Pierce County. We are in the top 20 in King County. You can say those numbers. That is real numbers for volume. So the saying, you get what you pay for. When you select me and my team to represent you, you'll be impressed at what you get for the price that you're paying. Those are the types of things that you would want to say in script number 6. So you can say there are many desperate agents out there. And when you think about it, if that worked, going with a discount company, everybody would do it. but that's not really the case. And again, just giving them factual data would be really helpful in script number 6. And the next one, I'm curious, how long, so you could ask them another question. And this is pretty bold. And again, if you've mastered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you may want to try, have some fun with this. Again, I wouldn't recommend it for a new agent to go out with something like this. But if those of you who are on the call and have practiced some of these, this is kind of fun, but you have to have a little bit of, you got to know how to work this out. I'm curious, how long did it take you to beat them up to get them to agree to cut their commission? And so they ask you a question, will you reduce the commission because of this company or that company reduced their commission? Just sit back, be really relaxed, pause, and just, mirror their body language, but say, how long did it take you to beat them up to get them to agree to cut their commission? And then, well, they just agree to do it right off the bat. Most of them will, they'll just say, yeah, I agree. So I wonder how aggressive they'll be when it comes to fighting for your money. I mean, when you think about it, in a very real sense, haven't they just demonstrated to you that they are not a strong negotiator? I'm not willing to accept that reduced amount. Here in my presentation is what I will do for you to earn my commission. And again, you have to be very confident with that statement. I still am working that section out because I'm not in the field doing this as much as I used to be. But when you think about how much we do as far as listings and at Best Choice Realty, what you're going to find is that, many of the brokers you're going to interact with already reduced to cut their commission. They're already doing that. And so, if you're working with a personality type that will respect you because of your experience or your negotiation style, this script is a home run. And people that do this script well are top listing agents in their own right. They have mastered dealing with objections. So this may be one you want to practice or kind of refine and make it your own, but it works really well. I've seen it done in multiple occasions. The last one before I let you go is script number 8. I don't give discounts because of all the things I do to sell the property at the highest price. What I will do is what I did for you before. I will represent you at the highest level. So this script is somebody you've worked with in the past, and so they use the objection. Hey, Rochelle, since we've been doing business for the last 2 years, and my sister is one of them, you can use this script on your family members or your friends, and you can explain to them how you earn your commission, and maybe throw in a version of script number 8, which is, I don't give discounts because of all the things that I do to sell the property at the highest price. What I'll do is I'll express to you, we do the ultimate open house. We do a thorough job on the negotiation. I do high-end photography. We help to market. We have a staging consultant that comes out and tours the property. What I will do is what I did for you before, which is all of that, and even then some. I will represent you at the highest level, and I will fight for you and defend your property's value and get you the highest price possible. I will leave no stone left unturned until I find the right buyer and ensure a smooth closing. And then you need to move to a different subject. So now let's talk about what your highest realistic price we want to list your property for. So this little section right here on script number 8, moving to a different subject. Once you've dealt with the objection and you can feel that that answers their objection, you got to move on. Don't dwell on it anymore. Move to a different subject. And one of the phrases that I used to use, now let's talk about what price you want to get for your home. I used to use that a lot, and it works still very well today. So when will you be making a decision? You got to go to the next question when you're in the moment. And I believe that was my last script. Yep, awesome. That's 6:01, perfect timing. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you have other questions, go ahead and post those. I'm going to post the recording on the BCR group for those of you guys, maybe friends or colleagues that you have within our group that maybe didn't have time tonight to watch the session, because I think we're getting a lot of this out there, and we have a lot to practice. You practice like you play, so practice these scenarios if you can. If you like my questionnaire that I send or that I ask on the phone or I ask in person, I have a list of questions that I've used. If you want that, just send me a quick email, and I will be happy to forward that questionnaire over to you. But make it a great week, you guys. I look forward to working with you. The spring market is very hot. We are on a record-breaking month for us at Best Choice Realty. we are pacing at about 3 to 4 listings a day, which is awesome. So we're having a huge surge of inventory that I think is going to appear in the next 30 to 60 days. So a bit of relief for those of you who are buyer's agents, but also a home run for those of you who are just getting into listings and starting to really practice some of the things we've been working on. So good luck out there, and we'll catch you next week.